Welcome everybody to the Grindhouse Massacre group stage matchup here with Archon versus Overcome, starting off instantly with Ghostface on Larry's Memorial Institute, seeing Pizza taking on the Ghostface. Very potent Ghostface player, and we have three honestly very interesting matchups today. We have Ghostface, which was Archon's pick. Archon did play Ghostface against Vicinal last week, however, they did not quite take the set. We also have Xenomorph, which is Overcome's pick, and Demo, which is Archon's tiebreaker. And starting off instantly with a hit onto Disaster, Pizza managed to take him by surprise, get the first hit, inflicting that sloppy butcher. But yeah, I would not be surprised if they just opt to leave that. Just getting the bit of early pressure, now going to try getting some stalk onto the survivors on Team Overcome. Honestly, a pretty strong start from Pizza, getting that early pressure on the survivors, meaning that they have to get off gens, get a reset, lest they risk an early down coming through, is very good on Ghostface, and I believe Pizza's now tracking a healthy survivor. And it does look like it's Milton, our Adam player, and it looks like this might just be another early hit being taken onto Milton. Pizza just spreading the pressure out with the sloppy butcher hits, and Corrupt Intervention is still up, so the survivors have very limited amounts of gens they could be working right now. Milton just going to opt to run through the God Palette. They have to have something useful in this room. They do have another God Palette in one of the long rooms on Larry's. That is going to prolong the chase, but Pizza once again looks like they're just going to drop the chase as the reset onto Disaster is just coming through. So Pizza knows that the gen progress is fairly minimal, as there's only been one survivor able to work on them. Proxer is now going to be taking chase. Will they be able to? No, they will not quite be able to play around this filler palette. That is going to be another hit coming in. And Pizza right now with a lot of map-wide pressure, which is not uncommon on the Ghostface, especially on Larry's, as an indoor map that is much easier for Ghostface to control. However, eventually they will need to convert one of these into a down, as the Ruin is getting cleansed in the distance, meaning that Pizza is now playing with two perks, Pain Res and Sloppy. Looks like they are back onto Proxer. They will have to get this down fairly quickly if they want to start gaining more pressure. Proxer doing an amazing job greeting this palette. Pizza not quite able to call their bluff and get the down. Proxer doing an amazing job playing around this filler, buying their teammates a lot of time as they've already reset Disaster and Milton. Taking the blood loss, Proxer manages to get away from the filler palette and manages to get to main room, where they do manage to get a palette drop. However, they are 99 on stalk now, so if they get reset, it will not matter, as Pizza can simply just activate the insta-down. But it looks like they have managed to find Fooder on one of the generators, and it has very little progress, which is pretty interesting at this point in the game. But Pizza just going to opt to get small bits of stalk on all the survivors here, punishing them for resetting. But not quite able to find anyone so far. Interesting to see, though, the gen pressure does seem to be minimal, and that is going to be a hit on the Fooder just coming out of the room and scaring them. Fooder, once again, just going to run through this palette, but we know the God palette inside of this room has already been dropped. And that puts them in a really bad position. Can they manage to go outside? It does look like they will manage to make one more loop through. They will have to give up the God Palette, which is another precious resource being used so early into the match, as we have, correct me, there is now one generator done. But outside of that, I'd be surprised if the survivors have any more gen progress across the map. Either way, Pizza is still finding difficulty getting the first down, even with all the injuries being taken by Overcome. They have done an amazing job at just preventing a down from coming through. However, the exposed does come through onto Proxer. Beautiful hit tank coming in from Disaster, but Pizza managed to just stalk right through Disaster, phasing right through them. They do get revealed though, but with the pallet break, they are back in power. Just trying to sneak up onto Proxer and get the quick down. Does not manage to, though. They do find Milton and get a free hit onto them. Like I said before, though, a lot of these hits aren't being converted into anything, and we're still not seeing our first down coming through. So Pizza is going to have to struggle to manage to get that, because the survivors right now don't have to worry about Ruin. They don't have to worry about anything like Eruption until a down comes through, and there's not Eruption in the game, just the Pain Resonance. So the survivors can just slowly be working on these generators, getting progress, and there's nothing like Ruin to prevent them from doing so. They do find Proxer, but it looks like Proxer's going to manage to outlive the exposed status effect. Pizza, though, does sense that they might be able to get a tag onto Proxer here if they just commit a bit longer, but opting for a tiny bit of stalk, not quite able to get too much off, and just going to return back to the gens. Pizza does seem to be holding onto this 3-gen around the top side of the map. Pretty wise move, as there is 4 gens up here, fairly close to each other. Pizza can just slowly push the survivors off these generators, one by one. But we are at 4 gens remaining, and there still has not been a down. Does catch Disaster by surprise here, getting a tag. Will they be able to convert this, though, into a quick down? A lot of the resources on this top side of the map have been used, but there should still be plenty of fillers to be used around the library side, which is where Disaster is taking chase, but I do think we'll be seeing our first down here right next to the basement. Pizza can opt here probably just for a basement hook, as getting a pain res at this location is going to be fairly difficult, but it looks like they may have one, as they're opting to just leave the basement, take them towards the top side of the map. This is where, during a Ghostface game, the pressure really starts to escalate when a survivor gets hooked inside of the gen spread, especially if that hook is a pain resonance hook. So now Pizza can just patrol this hook and their gen spread fairly easily, and they do keep catching survivors working on these. Just getting 99 stalk onto Milton there. Just trying to ensure that as few survivors as possible can actually rotate for this save. It's going to buy Pizza a lot of time. Chase back onto Milton. If they do get the exposed onto Milton and a quick down, that would only leave 2 survivors standing, and we aren't seeing any other generators pop just yet. Still at 4 gens remaining. Pizza does actually have a lot of pressure here. If they can secure the second stage onto this, Disaster is going to have to play this extremely safe. And that's the 99 stalk onto Fooder as well. 2 survivors now. 99 on stalk, leaving only Proxer in a position where they can actually take a body block for any of their teammates. Does look like Pizza is revealed, but they do secure the second stage onto Disaster, which is exactly what they wanted. Using the pallet break to get their power back instantly, now going to go find one of the 99 survivors on the top side of the map. If they do manage to get this down, that is going to be a second hook inside of their 3-gen. Though I would imagine Disaster's rescue is going to come in shortly, and actually Milton was down the hallway and got exposed as well. Now we have 2 exposed survivors and a death hook survivor, along with a down in the gen spread. Pizza just going to offer a dry kick, probably another pain resonance hook, if they have any in the area. And that was a beautiful play by Pizza, managing to secure second stage onto Disaster and get another hook out of it. There is 3 gens remaining, however the 3-gen on the top side of the map is still in place. Pizza just checking around to see if they can catch any more survivors, but I have a feeling the survivors on Overcome are around the bottom side of the map right now, just trying to get resets. Besides Proxer, who is just boldly running straight into the 3-gen, Pizza getting plenty of stalk onto Proxer. Proxer in a lot of danger. They can't get this unhook, as they will just get exposed here. The unhook still not coming through, still being in the top side of the map in the main room. It does end up coming through, but it looks like this might just be a quick down on a Proxer. As we know, a lot of the pallets around here have been used, and I don't think they make it to the library pallet. We do know there is a pain resonance hook nearby, so Pizza can undo any progress. However, they do get a bit of aura reading onto Disaster there, which is the death hook survivor, so if they do opt to go for the tunnel out after getting the hook onto Proxer, that could be huge. Of course, forcing a 3v1 against Ghostface on Larry's is one of the best strategies, but it looks like Pizza's not going to opt to go try finding Disaster and get their tunnel out. Instead, they have this beautiful position here where they can stalk 2 of Overcome survivors as they're resetting and getting them to around 70% each. Looks like they're now going to take chase back onto Milton. Getting the exposed, Pizza doing an amazing job throughout this game of just spreading the stalk onto the different survivors, managing to get several of them exposed at once or close to it. Just going to offer the window vault, no bamboozle, but that will be a pallet break, and Milton now kind of in a difficult position. They have to run down this long hallway, and there may not be much in the way of safe fillers for them to use around here. They're just going to have to try getting to the library and use one of the pallets in there. But it doesn't look like they'll be able to. No hit tank coming through, and that's 3 survivors right near each other, but Pizza just gonna go for the pick onto Milton, knowing where 3 out of the 4 survivors are. This will be another hook around the top side of the map on that same hook. We did see a 3rd generator pop, but it was another gen on the bottom side of the map. That is going to be the 4th use of Pain Res. All 4 fresh hooks have been secured at this point. 1 tunnel out, 1 person on second hook, Disaster. And Disaster runs straight into Pizza. That is going to be a hit onto Disaster. And if Pizza can secure this down within the next 30 seconds or so, that's going to force a 3v1. And it's going to be incredibly difficult for Overcome to play around. And it doesn't look like there's anything besides this filler for Disaster to play around. If they can play around it perfectly, that would help their team greatly, but they do end up going down. The question is, do the survivors on Overcome have any progress on any of these topside generators? Because they're going to need to pop one of them soon. Otherwise, Pizza can just play into this 3-gen, kind of a 4-gen. They do manage to pop one of them, leaving, I would say, the 3 closest generators still standing. Pizza now having an amazing place to stalk survivors, as the main building gen has not been done. Once again, just going to opt for a dry kick, as they don't have any more gen regression perks. They don't really have to worry about the regression events, and that is going to be a down onto Milton, catching the reset out, and that's all 3 survivors accounted for. Pizza can just get free hits. A bit of a mistake coming in from Overcome, not being fully secure with where they're resetting, especially since that reset point is fairly in the 3-gen. Pizza just going to try running behind Fooder until they can manage to expose them. They have them perfectly 99, and that is the exposed onto Fooder. That means the last 2 survivors standing, Proxer and Fooder, are both either exposed or injured. Nobody can safely get the pickup onto Milton with the hit that will enable the purple add-on, and they will see the aura of Proxer going towards the pickup onto Milton. Will they be able to get the down, though, before the pickup comes through? It does look like they will, and bit of a goofy interaction here coming in from the Ghostface, but that is going to be the down onto Proxer, and it looks like Pizza has secured a beautiful 4K1 for their team, which is a pretty good result for Ghostface, though not something entirely unheard of, as it is fairly common and not at all bad for the survivors on Team Overcome, especially considering this is Archon's pick. This was their chosen killer. They chose to pick a much slower set, meaning that their survivors are now going to have to play equally slow in order to make this happen. They're going to need to get that 5th generator done, which means that on Overcome's side, they can play into a 3-gen. They can play into that if they want to try getting a tie on this set and move on to Xenomorph, which is their pick, and a killer that they are much more comfortable on. Now it's just going to be trying to find the slug onto Fooder, and it does look like they have managed to find them, and that should be a wrap here, meaning that the survivors on Team Archon are going to need to get 5 generators done to secure the win, or 4 generators done to secure a tie condition. Of course, any tie condition would bring us onto the Demogorgon tiebreaker set later on. Very solid performance overall from Pizza and the survivors on Team Overcome. It's going to be interesting to see how they play around that coming into the next game, coming up here in a few minutes. Welcome back, everybody, to the second game of the first set here with Archon versus Overcome. We're now going to be seeing Overcome taking on the Ghostface with a plethora of Hex Totems at their disposal here. We have Ruin Devour, Ruin Pentimento, and Thrill of the Hunt. A fairly interesting combo here, especially without Corrupt on Larry's, as the win condition for Proxer is a 4K2, so it looks like they're just going to be playing incredibly aggressive with their build here. As there is no Corrupt, they're just going to be going for chases right off the bat, getting stalk on a Pizza and Nex. But they do unfortunately get broken out of their power, but they do earn a hit out of that onto Nex. I believe they may not commit to this. Yeah, they do catch Nova out inside of one of these strong long rooms, does manage to not give a hit right off the bat, but does give Proxer their power again. Proxer now can just focus on getting stalk onto more survivors, and they have already seen all 4 survivors on Archon so far, and have located all of them. They do get broken out of their power by Scott, but it doesn't matter, as they do have eyes on all 4 and can just keep pressuring them on this bottom side of the map. a much quicker start in contrast to what we saw last game, where Archon played a very slow and methodical start, getting Stalk onto several survivors, getting hits with the Sloppy Butcher. But now it looks like Proxer is just going to be playing a much faster game. Once again, activating their power, just going to try getting a bit more Stalk on the survivors. But if I were the survivors on Team Archon, I would probably be rotating away from the bottom side of the map where Proxer expects you to be. And it looks like they are doing that. We see the generator on the far bottom side of the map being abandoned. And Proxer, once again, just trying to go for Stalk here. That quick start, kind of winding down. They did get the reset. And it looks like Proxer isn't quite able to locate any of the survivors here. We see some crows there telling us the survivors are not hiding around there. Never mind though, it does look like Nex was hiding there, but with Proxer being broken out of their power, they're just going to leave Nex behind. 99 on Stalk. Very appealing target for later, but Proxer correctly, I would assume, guessing that the survivors are on the top side of the map, and the survivors, I would assume, have already found some of the totems, as they are not in the most ideal positions here. Larry's is a map that has fairly standard totem spawns that you can usually locate fairly easily. So if they know Thrill of the Hunt's there and Rune's there, they already know 2 of Proxer's perks, and might be able to guess the third. And yeah, it does look like Nova has spotted this totem that spawned in the middle of the map, a very unfortunate totem spawn that I'm surprised has lasted this long. I think that's with the help of Thrill of the Hunt. Proxer does notice something working the far bottom gen after they get the hit onto Nova. So at any point, they could just drop this and go straight for the survivor, which does happen to be Nex, who is one of our 2 99 survivors. Proxer does manage to get the exposed onto Nex, though, but Nex does have a fairly strong exit gate palette here. We do see the cleanse onto Ruin through Thrill of the Hunt, but Thrill of the Hunt is not out of the game just yet, as it can be replaced. The totem that was cleansed can be replaced with Pentimento. However, it looks like the totem that was cleansed was not the one that we saw Nova on earlier. It was actually one on the far top side of the map, meaning that both of Proxer's totems are actually accounted for and could be cleansed at any time. Very unfortunate that both of these totems spawned fairly close together in fairly standard places. Proxer just going to offer the first stack of Pentimento, which Thrill of the Hunt will protect, and will gain another stack back on Thrill of the Hunt because of it. Does manage to find, I believe, Scott here on the edge map filler. Not quite managing to get the exposed just yet, but the pallet does go down, and I believe Proxer is just trying to get a bit closer to Scott before they reveal them. Scott does have a fairly strong window setup here, though. But I don't think they make anything from here. I think that will just be a down onto Scott on the top side of the map. Still no generators have come out just yet, which is a much quicker start than we saw with Archon, as it wasn't until one generator was complete that we saw the first down come through. Proxer just going to take him towards a mid-hook, probably a second pain res coming through. Indeed, that is going to be the second use of pain resonance, and with Pentimento now active, these generators are going to be going way slower. However, Pentimento getting cleansed right in Proxer's face. Pizza just cleansing it. Proxer not quite able to hear them doing it. So that is going to be one of 2 gen regression perks, or gen control perks, that Proxer has at their disposal gone. So unless the survivors cleanse Thrill of the Hunt, which they have no reason to do at this point, then that's going to be 1 perk left for Proxer to use, Pain Resonance. But they do get the down onto Pizza fairly quickly, still at 5 gens remaining, though we did see a ton of progress on some of these top and bottom gens. Looks like Proxer is going to instead try finding a Pain Resonance hook here, and get a very nicely situated hook right next to this gen. In fact, it was not a Pain Res. Proxer possibly just saving that for later, as they are still at 5 gens, and that is their only perk left. That is the risk here of bringing a full totem build onto a map like Larry's, is the totems are they have very standardized spawns. The survivors know where they will be oftentimes, and they can just get cleansed very early, which is why we saw a safer pick of Sloppy Butcher coming in from Pizza when they played the Ghostface. Procs are just trying to win a mind game here on the edge map filler, but Next doing a great job at calling their bluff. 2 whiffed attacks though, 1 auto aim and 1 whiff there coming in on this pallet. Next buying their team a ton of time as we see the rescue onto Pizza. Does manage to get the stun, but they are now kind of zoned. I think Proxer is just going to settle for trying to get some stalk. And they should be able to get the 99 here onto Next before dropping Chase. We do see the first generator pop. However, Proxer is still in a fairly comfortable position. They have an injury, they have a stalk, and the survivors don't seem to have too much gen progress on the board. Just gonna opt to get stalk onto Nova. Not quite able to get them 99 though. This could be a factor later. But Nova does kind of run back into Proxer. I think they're at a point where they can get exposed fairly easily. Proxer now just trying to win a mind game here. But I think Nova will have noticed they don't have eyes on Proxer and is probably just trying to find a resource to camp. Proxer not quite able to locate any more survivors, though does look like Scott was briefly here. Just gonna settle to get more stalk onto them. 2 survivors are 99 on stalk and Pizza has already been hooked. So Scott is the last quote-unquote safe body blocker the survivors on Archon have at their disposal. Now, fortunately for Archon, Nova and Next both know that they're 99 on stalk, so they can play this extremely slowly. However, Proxer did notice Pizza on the edge map, and that is going to be a quick hit onto Pizza. And I believe Proxer is probably just going to drop Chase, as getting a quick down on this map with just normal M1 is fairly difficult. And they would rather just find one of the survivors that they can insta-down. Back in power, they did know Nova was here earlier, but it looks like Scott is now going to be the sole survivor working on this generator. That is going to be another M1 coming through. But it looks like Proxer is once again just going to drop Chase and instead just go for a dry kick on this generator. Not quite able to scope out any downs recently. The survivors on Archon are doing a much better job at just slowing things down, getting gen progress, and getting resets, as we see a second generator popping on the other side of the map. Proxer can only allow 1 more generator to pop here before they're at the tie condition. Brief sighting onto Pizza, they're not gonna commit to anything. This is where the struggle comes through, not having something like Sloppy Butcher on this map, is every time you get an M1, it does reset their stalk progress, and the survivors reset fairly quickly. Especially with the restrictions in place on perks, the survivors are allowed things like Empathic Connection, Solidarity, so a lot of the survivors' perks will be focused on healing. Chase now being back onto Scott. Proxer just going to once again take an M1 onto Scott, and they're going to have to commit to something eventually, and now may be the time as the survivors' gen progress seems like it's a bit lower. But no, just going to opt for a gen kick and to go back further into the map. Proxer, interesting change of playstyle here. They started the game incredibly quickly, just trying to speedrun their way into the win condition. However, now that their perks have been totems have been cleansed, it doesn't seem like there's really too much they have going for them. Beautiful body block coming in from Nova, not only denying the down onto Scott, but also resetting Nova's stalk progress, as they did know they were 99. Proxer just not quite able to swing through the pallet and get the down onto Scott. Scott doing a great job, but eventually getting hit through the pallet. A bit of pain coming through here. That's always going to be a thing, unfortunately, playing it Dead by Daylight. That is going to be a hook onto Scott. This is not going to be a pain resonance, but this will be a second stage onto Scott. I believe our first survivor to be second, as they did save a pain res on Pizza earlier. And we do see what possibly was a missed skill check on the other side of the map, telling Proxer where the survivors may be right now. Just going to be taking it very slowly, trying to find stalk on any of the survivors nearby. Not quite able to. Just gonna once again settle for a dry kick. They do still have 2 pain resonance stacks to use, which they wisely did keep on Pizza earlier. If they do manage to get a quick down, which it looks like next is going to be their main opportunity to do so, they're going to need to do it quickly. So that would give them another use of pain res. but just gonna opt to go back to the top side of the map where the unhook came through and try finding a possible reset onto Scott here. Instead finds Next, though. This is huge. This is the 99 survivor, but Proxer getting the not quite getting the exposed, and instead just going to take chase onto Scott here. Next, just trying to take a hit for Scott here, as they know that would reset their stall progress. Proxer content to just take the body block here and wait for their power to come back. Now Next cannot body block anymore. Next, kind of putting himself in a bad position here, though. If they try body blocking once again, Proxer could just pop the exposed onto them. But they do manage to get the stun onto Proxer. We see a third generator pop. Proxer will now need to get a 4K at two gens left in order to get the win. And it's not looking very good for them. They got the exposed onto Nex, which means that Nex will not be able to take any body blocks for Scott, but Scott now has the main building to use. It was recently changed a little bit in an update, however, it's still fairly strong. Scott doing an amazing job playing around these fillers, eventually going to go down, and that is going to be the fourth generator popped, meaning that we are now at tie condition. Proxer, though, does have a death here onto Scott, putting us in, honestly, a very similar situation to what we saw last game. Last game, we saw a 3v1 at 1 gen remaining, with very little in terms of perks being left, just Pain Resonance and Sloppy. This time it is just going to be Pain Resonance being left in the game. Taking a hit onto Nova, but the survivors on Archon have done an amazing job at conserving resources, meaning they have plenty of stuff to play around despite one of their survivors being dead. That is going to be a down, though, onto Nova. I believe the Pain Resonance has already been used on them. No, it has not. That is actually going to be another use of Pain Res. Nova was the last fresh hook, meaning that Pizza is the last Pain Res yet to be used, and they have been found by Proxer immediately. The unhook coming in onto Nova. If you're the survivors on Team Archon, you really just need to be getting gen progress. I'm interested to see if they'll go for the reset onto Nova, which they probably will at this point, as the chase onto Pizza has been dropped for the most part. However, I think Proxer is trying to double back, but Pizza does have a very strong setup there. They have two God Pallets back to back, meaning Proxer is just going to drop chase, and it looks like they're just going to be working gens as the reset onto Nova hasn't come through. The survivors on Archon know their win condition and know they just need to pop one more generator in order to achieve it. Proxer getting some stock onto Nova, who is still injured. Just trying to set themselves up for a bit of a snowball later in the game. The problem is there isn't too much left in terms of resources for the survivors on Team Archon. They have the God Pallets here, and beyond that, that's about it. Proxer just going to opt to break the pallet on this side. Wise decision, as that does zone Pizza away from the second God Pallet and forces them to go to a part of the map that is a bit more scarce. And not dropping the God Pallet soon enough, that is going to be a down from Pizza, who just greeted the pallet a bit too much trying to get the stun. And honestly, this down could be huge, as we know that's the last use of Pain Resonance, which could set the survivors back a lot of progress. But now Proxer will be playing with no perks left, and there is still 3 God Pallets left on this map. It's all going to come down to whether Proxer can just keep chaining down quick downs back to back, as I do not believe they have any specific tunnel out until Pizza gets off the hook. Pizza will be the only second hook survivor, if I recall. And we are seeing the anti-3-gen mechanics starting to come through. I believe that's around 4 or 5 kicks onto the generator, which tells us that one was most likely hit by Pain Res a few times. So Proxer does know the priority generator that the survivors on Archon are working. Going back towards the hook, and they do actually catch the reset out, but it does come through just in time. But putting Pizza back into the injured state, and if they do get this down fairly quickly, that would force a 2v1, which against Ghostface can be fairly impossible. But let's not forget, Pizza does still have this God Pallet here, and they have another one in the hallway. So this down will definitely not be coming through quickly, and it looks like Proxer is just going to drop chase and try... probably trying to find Nova out on this generator. We do see a 7% on it, and that is next, and Nova found. Nova just going to quickly go down, not quite knowing what direction Proxer is coming through. And that down could seal the 4K1 here, as this hook is going to happen in the middle of the 3-gen that Proxer still has. With one injury on the board and Nex being the only one capable of getting this rescue. That gives the survivors about 1 minute of time here with which to get the unhook onto Nova. But it doesn't look like they're able to find anyone just yet. The survivors are likely trying to reset. No, just going to offer an aggressive unhook here. And that is going to be the grab. Next just staring, kind of like, what the hell just happened? They dropped the pallet, and Nova was kind of cornered there, nowhere else to go except the pallet. And obviously you can get grabbed even when fast vaulting a pallet if you have the endurance status effect, much like a medium vault. So that is going to be an elimination, and with how fast it happened, that leaves Proxer in a really good position. Now the only thing that could get between them and the tie condition is a hatch escape, because Larry's, we cannot control with offerings where the hatch spawns on Larry's like we can on other maps. We do hear a ton of progress though on this gen. If the survivors do manage to pop this, that would be enough to secure them the win. It's getting down really close here. With no bloodstains, that does tell Proxer that this was likely Nex. And yeah, they do catch Nex out going towards the top side of the map, but they still have not accounted for where Pizza is, and with how spread out these gens are, it's going to be a back and forth here on whether or not Proxer can manage to get back to these gens. We see a lot of scratch marks. The survivors doing a great job pre-calming when Proxer leaves and when they don't have eyes, especially with the fact that a God Pallet does still exist on the bottom side of the map. So even though Pizza is just kind of out in the open here injured, they do still have a fair amount of resources to use. Just gonna offer the blind on the God Pallet though. I don't know if that's entirely advisable, as they did lose a lot of distance, but Proxer just gonna drop chase nevertheless. And with only a drag kit coming in on this generator, it could be getting fairly close to being done here. Proxer not out of the deep end just yet. They do still have to worry about this. And yeah, it does look like it's around 80, maybe 85% done. The anti-cap now getting to probably around 6 kicks, 5 or 6 kicks. Or the anti-3 gen, my... Just trying to catch Nex out here once again, but Nex doing an amazing job figuring out Proxer's movements and not getting caught out. They did manage to tap the gen, but Nex completely unaware that they are being stalked. That is going to be the down onto Nex, with a bit of value coming in from the Sheath. Purple add-on. Something we see Ghostfaces run fairly often, but don't always see in action. With that quick down coming in onto Nex, Pizza is in a lot of danger here, especially since they're on the side of the map with less resources. And I believe this is just going to be a quick down onto Pizza, a complete reversal from what was kind of expected with Archon coming in and picking Ghostface, as they're pretty well known for playing Ghostface and how good they are at these sets. And now it's just going to be a wrap. Proxer going for the pickup onto Nex, as Nex is not dead on hooks. That will give them enough time to pick up Pizza and secure their 4 kills at 1 gen remaining, meaning that this set is going to end up being a tie between Archon and Overcome, which does ensure that we will be going onto our tiebreaker set after the Xenomorph set, which is Demogorgon. A beautiful performance from Proxer, especially considering they were playing most of that game with 1 perk remaining, as the totems got cleansed fairly early into the game. The survivors had no reason to cleanse Thrill of the Hunt. But now we're going to have to see how Archon is able to play on the Xenomorph set, as that is Overcome's pick, but that will be coming out here in a few minutes. Stick around. Welcome back, everyone. We are now playing with our favorite kitty here, the Xenomorph, on the Pull Tower 2. Proxer now once again taking on the role killer for Overcome in the second set after managing a beautiful performance on Ghostface, tying up the first set. And now they are in their element on the Xenomorph, and already finding a survivor, Scott, here, right off the bat at Shack, setting up a flame turret. And that is going to be a very quick first injury and a very similar build to last game. I'm now joined by my fellow caster, Georgie, here. How are you doing this afternoon?
I'm doing great, Snapply. Thank you for introducing me. I was a little bit late to the cast, but the important thing is I'm here now, and I get to see this lovely Xeno set, which I believe Overcome really likes this killer, and that would make sense since Proxer is obviously a P100 Xenomorph. Doesn't surprise me they picked it. And likewise, he got a really quick down, so he's in a good position to make a roll this match.
Most definitely. They do end up finding Nova, however, it is worth noting Thrill of the Hunt has already been cleansed, meaning that they are now running with just Ruin defending itself, however, not quite able to get the hit onto Nova at the filler. But what's important is that this chase is happening right next to the hook, so getting the unhook is not exactly an option. And with how early the hook came through, I would not be surprised if the survivors opt to just do gens. However, they do catch next, attempting at least to go for the save. Of course, with the purple keyboard add-on, the aura of gens shows how much they're done.
Yeah, when you have a hook that early, you know, you can kind of afford to hard camp it to second, but we do see a pull come through actually.
Yeah, it's very interesting that the survivors did opt to try getting the pull so early. Is the gen progress is there, but it's not entirely great. But that is a very quick down onto Scott, once again securing a possible second stage here, as there's no decisive strike on Xenomorph's tier of killer. And yeah, what do you think about the game so far, now that there is 2 hooks coming in at 5 gens and the tunnel out being secured?
I just don't think you can make that sort of risky play without properly setting up. I think it would have been a lot more effective if we were able to see a flamethrower set up. But hold that thought, we actually have a chase with Fang Min at this pallet gem, and looks like she is going to be getting tagged. Procs are doing a great job just all around the map. This guy has full control of the game right now.
Really, they do have fairly good mobility, but even just in the individual 1v1s, they're doing an incredible job, as we saw just immense knowledge when it comes to Xeno's tail physics, managing to hit Feder from around the corner, and now just securing the down after zoning them beautifully. They're not even going to opt to use a Pain Resonance hook here, and they really don't have to. There's just one gen that is fairly close to popping, but it was last seen regressing, and Ruin is still up, so the pop is going to be useless. So, I mean, do you think there's a chance the survivors, like, as it looks now, Archon is at best probably going to get maybe 3-4 gens done. Do you think there's a chance they might be able to get anything further?
You know, you never know. All it takes is one really good banger juicer chase, and they did break an important gen on the bot side, which was part of a pretty nasty 3-gen down here with Shaq and this jungle gem. But that said, that chase needs to come in, and going into a banger chase against a Xeno in power is not going to happen. And looks like this is going to be our death hook, ready to go.
Yeah, and it doesn't look like they really have anything to play around here. They have a window gem, but not even going to be able to make that because of the tail attack. And that is an extremely early tunnel out onto Scott here. And Proxer, just with the purple add-on, just has so much information around the map as well. So it just feels like for the survivors right now, there isn't much you can do. You have 2 injuries and a death here at 4 gens remaining. And it doesn't look like there's too much progress on the board to show for it.
And we're beginning to see the synergy with the build with the Ruin and this purple add-on semiotic keyboard. It tells him the progress of generators within 16 meters of flame turrets. And, you know, that might seem whatever, but if you factor in Ruin, then he knows which gen to pressure at the right time. It just makes that perk even deadlier. So the survivors have an uphill battle to climb here for sure.
Yeah, and they do manage to catch somebody right by this tunnel. It ends up being Nex. Nex doing an amazing job just dodging the tail attack here. A fairly difficult thing when the killer, like Proxer, is square. Beautiful hit over the boxes here. It doesn't feel like there's really much the survivors can do in 1v1 as well, because Proxer just knows these hitboxes so well. Beautiful crouch coming in from Nex, though, managing to get a very strong dodge. But all they really have is this filler, as Proxer is really good at zoning them, and yeah, that is going to end up being the down onto Nex. And there's still 3 Pain Res stacks left along with the Ruin here. Never mind, there is no more Ruin, but there is still 3 Pain Res stacks, and the pop goes the Weasel.
Caster Curse, his own perk. I see what you're doing. Now, but that was a really good tail attack over the boxes there with that eye filler. Normally you see a lot of Xenomorphs kind of just play safe. and go for a standard hit, but Proxer really putting in his mechanics here, showing that he knows what he's doing on this killer. I don't think Fang even makes it to the window. Oh, she does. Okay, my bad.
Yeah, just not quite able to get the tail whip over the window there. I think the collisions were slightly funky there. But they do now have the Pop Goes the Weasel ready, and they can just tunnel literally and figuratively all the way back to the hook. And they do find some footsteps there going right towards the tunnel. The survivors do need to be aware of that when going against Xenomorph, is that he has amazing tracking abilities. Rather, not sure which survivor this is, but if this does end up being Feder, which it does, it is Feder and Nova being caught out here at the shack, which Proxer has proven they can play around fairly well. Not quite able to get the fast fold off though. Nova just going to take a tail whip, meaning that they can't play for a hit for Feder anymore. And Feder is in a really bad position. They can't drop the shack pallet right here. As much like a Huntress, they can't just hit over it, but never mind Feder managing to crouch and get the firecracker off onto Proxer. This is kind of the chase you need right now if you're
an early game. An early game like this from a killer like Xeno, where he's powerful in the start, but not if there's turrets ready. Like he can't really do much. Like this is no corrupt intervention. This is thrill the hunt, ruin, pain, risen, pop. There's no corrupt to stop gens from popping. The fact that he's getting this result is just immaculate. I really don't think Proxer is gonna lose this set with how he's playing.
Yeah, add on to the fact that Xenomorph is an incredibly technical killer, so unless this Archon has an equally strong Xenomorph, it's going to be incredibly difficult for them to match this result. As you see, much like killers like Singularity, if somebody has a deep understanding of their power, they can just dominate a set like this. As the survivors have a bit of progress on these gens, but overall they are still at 4 gens remaining. Next, beautiful balance landing there, getting some distance. And the flame turret did knock Proxer out of their power, but this is something we needed to see happening earlier in the game when the tunnel out was happening onto Scott.
You can see the survivors are kind of getting into the swing of things. You know, flame turrets are being set up at better spots, pre-runs are happening, people are starting to play a little bit more clean and slowly begin to understand how to play this set effectively. But is it too little too late? I don't know.
Yeah, we're gonna have to see Proxer just opting for the vault, possibly catching Nex off guard here. Nex does drop the card filler, and looks like Proxer's just gonna be doing a bit of home renovation here, breaking some of the walls on main building as their gens are kind of centered around here, but it looks like they kind of caught Nex off guard here. I don't think Nex makes anything from here. All they have is a window gem into the main building, and if Proxer doesn't even hit through the window, that is just gonna be an unfortunate tail attack there. And this is just going to be a hook inside of the 3-gen as well.
Yeah, although I will say that chase at main was long enough that we might not have a difficult result like a 4K4. I'm sure another gen will pop in the bot side somewhere, but this is almost assuredly resulting in a 4K2. I can't see how the survivors can get anything better than that.
Most definitely, and I do believe they actually do have a bit of info on one of the faraway gens because of a turret placed nearby, so they don't have to worry about that too much. And that we're really seeing the value out of the game.
He interrupted to make it so it's a trade. Do the survivors even get 4K2 here now? I'm not so sure.
That's gonna be tough to say. Especially since Nex doesn't have anything to use here. Proxer can just wait out the borrowed time, meaning that Feder is going to be the last survivor standing.
That's a death.
Yeah, that's going to be a second death at 3 gens, and I'm not even sure if Feder can really do anything about this.
Feder might be aggressively trying to pop the other gen that Ace was at, but no, she's actually going for the unhook.
This is about all you can really do at this point if you're Feder, as if they do manage to secure the hook and death, then there's not really much you can do besides that. But now Novo's probably going to be the last chases of the game, as they're not going to be able to pick up Nex just yet. And Proxer was demonstrating mastery at these four. Another beautiful tail whip, securing himself what should be a 4K3 here.
Ending it in style. I love that shot. Proxer definitely did just a great job manipulating the map, being everywhere at once. You can see he was just basically unstoppable in chase. I mean, this guy was getting tags at every tile, even main building wasn't an issue for him. I was a little concerned about not bringing Bamboozle, because main building on this map can be a little rough if they pre-run at the right times and, you know, pre-drop the right pallets and use that window, but Roxer just said, nah, I don't need it. And yeah, he's gonna 4K3 because of it. So just a really aggressive build and just great use of the power. I really think he would have had a bit more of a difficult time if survivors on Archon were able to get a foothold and get that turret setup going, but as you can see, he got such a strong early and just rolled with it. I really like, this is a killer where if you get that early going and you can keep the pressure rolling, it's so hard for the survivors to get a grip hold on the game. And I think we might have a bleed out potentially here, because Proxer, I don't think he makes this hook behind main, so Ada might just be chilling in the corner for a little bit.
Yeah, don't necessarily want to risk the adren that could come through if they close hatch, but maybe they... Yeah, it's just going to end up being a bleed out here, giving us a bit longer to talk about this game. As you said with the Bamboozle, we often see Bamboozle being brought just to shut down tiles like main building, but what we see with a lot of killers, like New Billy, for example, or Xenomorph, or even Pinhead, is if you have a strong enough mastery of the killer's power, Bamboozle becomes less and less needed, as you can just play around those tiles perfectly to begin with. And that's exactly what we saw coming in here from Proxer this game.
Right, and he was just so comfortable on the killer. Like, I love the hits over the pallets here, like at this filler here at 11, or the eye filler next to Shaq. That was such a clean shot, and it just kind of shows like how dynamic Xeno can be in chase. Really, you're not just like wait for them to vault, wait for them to drop a pallet. You know, you can get those cool shots, and I kind of, it's like a weird kind of blend of like Pyramid Head and Huntress. I think a really short range one. You know, they can do some stuff, but they got some similarities there. And those kind of option lock killers are, in their own sense, very entertaining to watch. I know they can be a little bit boring to verse, but it does take a certain skill set to play, and Proxer definitely has it.
Yeah, and add on to that the map-wide pressure that Xeno has, and with quick downs coming through along with the map-wide pressure, it just feels like there's nothing the survivors can do, especially considering just how quickly the first hit came through as Scott was setting up a turret. It just felt like they didn't have the early game setup that they needed.
Oh yeah, the killer for Archon is gonna have to... I'm interested to see the kind of build he brings. So it is gonna be hella aggressive to get a 4K3 Tycon. Oh my goodness. But we'll have to see with that what kind of build he brings. I'm interested too. Stick around so you can see it with me. We'll be back with you for Archon's killer on Xenomorph on Coal Tower 2.
Welcome back, everybody, to the second game of the second set here, with Archon now on the Xenomorph, taking on a very daunting win condition here of 4K at 4 generators remaining to win this matchup, 4K3 in order to tie it, as we saw a beautiful performance coming in from Proxer last game on the Xenomorph. And it looks like the survivors on Team Overcome are just opting for a very similar playstyle right at the start here, just getting turrets set up, but fortunately they have not been caught like we saw last game, setting up the early turrets. And Pizza trying to scope out an early chase here. They do manage to find one. Unsure which survivor it is. It is going down to Disaster. A beautiful crouch coming through. Milton is here as well. They're the one who's pushing
moves, man. That was such a good dodge.
That was beautiful, and now Chase is going to be onto Milton, not Disaster. And doing a beautiful job getting distance. That is going to be Lucky Break in play, by the looks of it. And that is going to be Ruin getting cleansed at 5 gens remaining. Not the start you need for Pizza right now.
Yeah, you can see the survivors on Overcome are really confident on where they need to be in the early game, determining where the Ruin is. They're just doing everything perfectly here. I think we can see a massive difference in the speed at which they're making things go here. I mean, the turrets are already being set up. The map is already being prepped. Pizza has got a hard win con ahead of him. This is going to be a tough one for Pizza, I'm sure.
Yeah, and we see them trying to play into their add-on Kane's helmet here, just trying to get the tail whips to inflict the mangled status effect onto survivors, and not quite able to get away with it just yet. This is going to be a chase on Disaster that they are gonna have a hard time taking, as it is at Shaq, and I believe Disaster is pretty well trained at how to play Shaq against Xeno. And yeah, Pizza is just going to opt to leave the chase once again. They just need to get something going right now to try matching just the sheer speed that we saw last game go. And I don't know if it's going to be possible for them. However, they do catch 2 survivors out here. It does look like it was Milton. Another survivor hit coming through onto Milton pretty quickly. Very nice hit, but Pizza just going to opt to leave once again, just trying to spread the pressure with Kane's helmet right now.
A very hit-and-run playstyle. I think Pizza is just super aware that they're spread on gens and really trying to exploit the pressure with getting tags and then kind of having it all snowball and collect. Although, I don't think this playstyle is going to work unless you get like a big slug going, so we need to see it down soon or something's going to give.
Yeah, the Survivor is just playing this very well, and Pizza just not quite managing to get the tail whips when they need them. But they are pushing some Survivors off this bottom gen. We did see high progress on one of the top gens. Does get a hit onto Proxer, but once again, just going to leave chase and opt for a kick. Nothing like Eruption though, no gen kick perks. Instead opting for the agitation, and that may come back to hurt later on.
Pizza really doing his due diligence on defending his generators. I think he's just really doing a good job of not sticking to a chase and making the survivors unsure of where he is. I mean, he's just sitting in the tunnels, and I think he's really confident someone's trying to sneak this gen, and I think he is correct. He's so aggressive here. But Sprint Burst, that's the reason she was aggressive. There you go.
Yep, that will not be a hit over the car. That was actually a very close dodge coming in. But the question is, how long will this chase be able to be kept up? Because Pizza just doesn't have the time on their hands. It's kind of a reversal of what we usually see, where the survivor has to buy time. Right now, Pizza just needs to cut as much time as possible off of these chases. But it doesn't look like they're able to, and I mean, we already see 2 generators with a ton of progress, and possibly more that haven't been looked at yet, as main building has been being worked. And we see 1 gen popping and still no downs, and it just comes, like, how much can you sustain this playstyle, this hit-and-run playstyle? Because you just need to be getting downs eventually, as Pizza is left with 1 perk left, Pain Resonance right now, unless they get it down. So there's not much they can do.
How much of a better spot we would have been in if we just decided to commit to a chase, but I understand Pizza's difficulties here. Every chase is difficult. I mean, you got main building, and then if it's not main building, it's a jungle gym with 3 turrets, but as I say that, Disaster does make a little bit of a mistake. Is this going to be the quick 2-tap that he needs? It looks like it.
And if there's a Pain Resonance hook right nearby inside of the 3 gen, that would be huge. Good patience coming in from Pizza, not readying their tail attack just yet. They do manage to get the down fairly quickly onto Disaster, but will this Pain Resonance be enough
I don't think he
to
gets it in
control
time.
these gens?
No, he doesn't.
No. And that's going to be the first hook at 3 gens remaining, which does mean that this is already a tie condition if they 4K now, and it's not looking promising. They do know that this hill gen is the most progressed. It was probably around 70%. And they do have eyes on Proxer, but I don't think they're going to commit to that. But the problem is they don't have the time to camp this hook out. If the survivors just get 1 more gen done anywhere on the map, that's going to be the win.
The gen spread is not in the killer's favor. The survivors are in full control right now. It is up to them on how they want to play this map and pressure it. Pizza has got to make a miracle happen, and it starts now.
Yeah, they're going to have to get this quick down. The rescue does happen onto Disaster, but maybe, just maybe, if they string enough Pain Reses together, that is going to be an unfortunate grab at the pallet. But that is also going to be a second use of Pain Res. If they can string enough of these together, maybe they'll be able to come out with something. Not quite able to prevent Kinji's out of power.
Having a little bit of fun with his flashlight. He's having a good time.
You love to see at these tournaments when the survivors are able to just take a moment.
Yes, we're all human at the end of the day, you know? It's a competitive setting, but you gotta have some fun. You gotta have some...
Gotta have a little bit. Pizza now back in their power and returning to where we saw a lot of progress earlier. Does manage to find Milton out. Not able to get the hit though, getting blocked by the tree. Milton doing an amazing job there.
You better thank your stars that tree was there. That is so lucky.
But the hit, regardless, is coming in. And with a third generator popping, that is going to be this set being taken by Overcome. We see 3 survivors working that gen.
They're huddled up. They're like a flock of birds. They just flock away from the gen pop.
Regardless of this down coming through.
Great job from Overcome and their killer for this set. I mean, just fantastically played. You can tell they know their stuff on Xeno from the minute of the start. You know, we were talking on the casters this earlier. Sometimes teams will choose to do a really fast-paced start or really slow start against Xeno, and I think these guys did a perfect play of the former. With a really fast start, you saw they instantly spread out, and then whoever wasn't in chase was busy getting turrets up, and just really great performance by him. And I gotta say, I'm excited to see the tiebreaker demo set for this, because these are both great teams. You know, I've watched Archon play before, I've casted them before, and they're definitely no pushovers, so...
Yeah, it's definitely worth noting, Archon was the winner of Outrun the Fog Sapphire Division just a few weeks ago. So they are coming off a very strong performance.
Oh, finding a bit of a survivor mess up here. Injured survivors next to the gen, can he get it down? No, we can't.
Looks like they're going to opt instead to just chase the healthy survivor and leave Proxer to go elsewhere. Right now, Pizza is just going to be playing for ego here, just playing for the best condition possible to take into the next game, as they already do know they've lost the set, but that doesn't mean they can't put up their best effort. So we see a 4th generator pop. The survivors, just despite the fact that they're huddled up injured, they're just spreading so much pressure, despite how huddled they are.
You can see how aggressive they are on getting this generator progress, but is it going to catch them in time? And no! They actually get the generators! I had no idea they had much gen progress. Holy!
Yeah, it looks like after they popped that one gen that they tripled, they had accrued a bit of pressure over time that they were able to bring into this. Not quite able to get the pallet save, but Milton is going to be thrown on the hook, and Pizza looks like they can still walk away with a fair amount of stages on the board, as this is a fresh hook. The Otters on hook, showing that they did manage to get 6 stages, which is still pretty respectable on Xenomorph, if I had to say.
I think Pizza is getting his frustrations out, which, you know, understandable. But sometimes you just gotta look at it and be like, hey, you know what? This is their domain, their element. We regroup and we win the tiebreaker. How about that? So, Pizza, really good killer. Unfortunately, didn't work out for him this time. But who knows? We might see a different story in the demo set. And make sure you stick around with us, dear viewers, to watch that. We'll be back.
We are back here with our tiebreaker round here for Archon versus Overcome, and we're now going to be seeing Archon starting us off on Azerov's resting place with the Demogorgon. Not a very standard map for demo. We usually see something like Wrecker's Yard, but it looks like the teams have decided that they are going to be playing on Azerov's resting place, so I won't fault them for that. But what is interesting is the forced hesitation here on the Demogorgon, which it's already not a very common perk, but it's also something that I wouldn't imagine we'd see on a killer like Demo very often, so I'm honestly interested to see how Pizza plays around it.
Yeah, I'd say the big thing with Force Hezi is because of the map choice here. Oh, but hold that thought. We actually see a little Jake chilling in the corner, and that's a fast injury. This might be a quick down. Yeah,
and if it is a quick down, that does suit Pizza very well. And yeah, that is just going to be a 2-tap, which...
Pizza coming swinging. I got interrupted with just how fast that little chase happened, but okay, my point is, I'll get this out quickly. Force Hezi is a good perk if you play around a hook and a trade, and on ARP, it's just such a big map that you can't really just go around pressuring everything. Like, I know you have portals, but it just doesn't really work out. So the chases need to be super short on this map, and it's not going to happen because everything's so spread out. So the reason he's going Force Hezi is to just guarantee quick tunnel out. So, you know, he gets off that hook, the unhooker goes down, he's slowed, he does a little poop walk, he barely makes it to mid-map, and then he's down and then hooked back into the region, right? So that's the reason. I think it's just the map choice. That's why he's going this perk. But yeah, what a fast start from Pizza. Holy.
So interestingly, Pizza doesn't stick by the hook despite it coming in so early, and instead wanders to the other side of the map to go check the gem progress, which is minimal for now. No Ruin this game, which is the first game so far today, I believe, that has not had Ruin, which kind of tells us a lot about the new meta. Regardless, Pizza trying to find this tunnel out onto Proxer, most likely, but instead going to find Fooder here at the shack, and they're Going to have to get a quick hit here. I'm not sure if they're going to commit for this full down, though. That won't be Shack Powell getting dropped just yet. Beautiful play from Pizza there.
That perk, forced hesitation, you know, for it to work, you do need to be around your hooks. And I think what happened there was we had Fuderick actually chilling down there in the bot side. He was just never found off spawn and did a really good job stealthing and getting the pull. And now I think Pizza is scrambling, desperately trying to find his tunnel out.
And Survivors on Team Overcome are doing an amazing job already with the gen progress. They have managed to pop 2 gens and in turn only traded 1 hook stage for it. Despite how fast that first down came through, they almost kind of put themselves in a position like it never happened. Like that first chase was long.
Pizza has got to find his Jake or he's going to be in trouble very soon here. He still has his 3 gen down here to work with, but it's getting a little panicky now.
Not quite finding Boxer here. They do find Disaster, but Disaster does have all of the pallets and tiles filling the mid-map here. And yeah, they're not going to quite be able to get a hit just yet. But Disaster taking it wide, beautifully played there. And now they have the buses to go to. However, they will end up taking a hit for it. And Pizza just needs another quick down here to get something going. Especially with the amount of pressure the Survivors most likely have on these gens. They popped 2 early on and haven't had a hook since then. So they likely are just building up progress slowly.
Overcome Survivors are doing a really good job of, you know, I think Jake was intentionally stealthing off the pole there and actually made it out of the tunnel out, and now Pizza is pretty sure he's still down here. I think this might have been a double, but you just can't find him, and you can see ever since that happened, he's been kind of lost, but hold that thought, he did find him. We have our boy. We have our boy.
Yeah, now if you're Proxer, you're just going to be trying to get as far away from the gen spread as possible here. Honestly, not even worrying too much about chase time. You just want to get out of this part of the map. Just deny Pizza any chance of being able to camp your hook out.
Now you see the problem of ARP when you don't get those hook trades. He makes it to the top side of the map away from all the gens. There's no gens up here.
Yeah, you get it down, but what does it really give you? That's the question.
Survivors for Overcome are in such a good position to get outs here, and I'd be surprised if they get any result that's less than that. Pizza's got to make... I think he's just got to forego this tunnel out and just try to opt to hold for the 3 gen down here, but the spread is pretty thin. I mean, these gens are kind of wide and far apart, so I'd be interested to see how we can make this work.
Yeah, it's going to opt to use their Raptors Weasel on one of these bottom side generators, and the strength about Demo is they are able to traverse them really quickly, so if they can manage to get this down onto Proxer pretty early, then that would give them the trouble.
This could be rough, depending on how quick the chase is.
Yeah, Proxer are doing a good job so far, and they do have a body block in the form of Milton nearby, which I'd be surprised if Milton doesn't body block, but maybe Proxer is just very confident in their abilities here. They have the life, but now Milton is going to be trying to take a hit here. That is going to result in a hit, as they did go to the fateful gray car that has no collisions. And now
Pizza can end this chase quickly enough and get to a 3v1. He does have a chance at holding that gen lock down there, but it's one of those gens that's going to be sacrificed for the chase. And Proxer is doing a great job chaining things. The bus isn't the strongest, but he does make pallet. How will he play this? Oh.
Yeah, the down does eventually come through, but that was a very strong chase from Proxer, and I believe the Survivors may have managed to pop one of the gens on the bottom side of the map, which I do believe they have, which does mean that Pizza no longer really has a strong gen spread to defend here.
Holy, the gen pressure, they're doubling, and the gen pops!
3 stages on the board. I think the best result you can hope for right now for Pizza is 6 stages. Because they don't have anything like Noah, they can't really... I don't think they can snowball this.
We are seeing a different Overcome today. I don't think I've seen them this locked in a while. Like, these guys have just been on top of things with gen pressure. I don't fault Pizza for this issue very much, because these survivors are just playing fantastic, and looks like they're going to leave for the door. Milton might have a chance to get the hatch at Shack here. We're going to have some shenanigans.
So with Shack Pallet's still up, I think Fooder probably will be able to get out, but no. I think Milton's just going to try getting to the gate. They don't have any body blocks, though. They're going to have to play this really well, and I don't know if they make it. This is very tense showdown. This is the difference between a 3-stage and a 6-stage. A 3-stage is honestly, I don't think, very playable if you're Archon survivors. 6th stage is though, and it does look like it will in the end be a 6th stage, which is definitely playable for Archon. They will just have to put their all into it.
2 fresh and 6 stages is the result here for Pizza and Archon. I gotta say, that is probably not the result he was looking for, and it's gonna be really, really tough on the survivors to overcome to get a better result than that. But you gotta remember, Demo is an M1 at the end of the day. ARP is a big map. If you play your cards right and get that first unhook, I mean, I think ARP is really about that first unhook. Like that'll decide the entire game, really. And if that can work out for the survivors and Archon, we might actually see them pull through. But time will have to tell. We'll be right back with the survivors versus Archon and the killer for Overcome. Stick around.
Welcome back to what could be the last game here of Archon versus Overcome. Rockstar now taking on the role of Demo, a fairly similar killer to the Xenomorph we saw a few games ago, where Proxer played incredibly well. So they're now going to be beating a 7-stage win condition set by Archon with Pizza. And once again on the Azeroth's resting place, it does look like Proxer actually has a fairly decent gen setup here. They have the 4-gen on the top side of the map, so they're going to be going to this game with a pretty comfortable setup and a pretty comfortable build. They got Noed and Bamboozle to just help them get these downs early, as it is not too demanding of a win condition. It looks like the survivors on Archon are just going to be hopping on gens right off the bat, just trying to get that early pressure that they need. Like what we saw last game with Overcome. You can attest to just how good the gen pressure was from Overcome last game.
Yeah, I mean, earlier you said we had our favorite Xeno kitty, you know, our favorite kitty. Now we got the favorite Demo doggy. Kind of a fun set. We got a dog and a cat, and now we're on the dog set. Proxer, yeah, you commented on the Bamboozle. That's gonna really help us chase, and I think that is already making this chase pretty short. Are we gonna? Yeah, it's relatively quick. 2 downs in both sets. The difference here is Proxer just kind of knows his win con. You know, 7 stages with Noed in the pack pocket. I wouldn't be surprised if he just hard camps this first hook, and yeah, you don't really need to do too much to achieve that here. So it's definitely gonna be on the survivors for Archon. I want to see like a pre-self, like you gotta wait for this pull, and this pull matters. This will change or break the game. So I really hope Archon are doing their due diligence and stealthing up to this pull, because that will really determine how the rest of this match plays out.
Yeah, and with that down, I mean, like you said, both downs came in so early in both games. And I think there's something to be said about Demo's chase power is fairly strong, despite how simple it is. And it looks like Proxer just getting their portal network set up and going back to the hook. They have the 4-gen here on the top side of the map, so they can they're just incredibly comfortable right now, just able to chill at this hook. They can even give up one of the gens on the top side if they have to. They still have a 3-gen. I think the only danger that Proxer has right now is the lack of resources that have been used so far during that first chase. The first chase didn't utilize much in the way of pallets, so there is still plenty for the survivors on Team Archon to use. And we do see 2 generators pop on the bottom side of the map, but that doesn't really affect Proxer too much. They are going to get the 2nd stage onto Scott here and can just go right back to their 3-gen, 4-gen still.
We can see Archon is opting for a strategy to triple split position out on the gens and just kind of leave them on hook, and we'll have to see how well that works out now, though, because you do have this guaranteed gen lock up here on the top side, and the pull comes through. Proxer's death hook, he's got to make a chase work, but like you said, the resources aren't too strong. Let's see what he pulls off.
Yeah, it does still have the bus pallet, but it is not the most powerful bus setup. But thankfully, we do have a hit coming in from Pizza here, and the survivors do manage to pop a 3rd-gen, putting themselves still in a pretty decent spot, but still the top 4-gen does still exist. And it does look like this might be a quick down onto Scott here, as I don't think they have much in the way of resources to use, and that is going to be the down. And I don't think they're far enough under the pallet, unless there's a flashlight or flashbang. Nothing's going to come through, and that will be a death at 2 gens, which is exactly what you need if you're Proxer, especially if you scope out the injured survivor right after.
You gotta remember that 6 stages last game was on 2 fresh survivors, so they don't really, like, even if they get 6 stages here, if Archon allows multiple survivors to be hooked, more than just 2 different unique ones, that's not gonna be a tie, that's gonna be a W for Overcome. So they got quite a mountain to climb here, and Proxer is seemingly content with just taking a chaser, and I doesn't surprise me. Doesn't surprise me.
Yeah, very unlike what we saw last game with Pizza on the killer. Like you said, Proxer does know their win condition. They can play around it accordingly, and we're definitely seeing that. Though it does look like they are going to drop Chase, as they do still have a really strong 4-gen to defend. So if they can just manage to keep this in check while they pull pressure onto the survivors, that definitely puts them in a good position. They come back to this.
Oh, what a great pre-self.
Yeah,
Wow.
not gonna be able to find the survivor that was here.
In these kind of situations in 3v1, I agree to the idea that it is more important to not be in a chase rather than just juicing a chase. You know, against a killer at this level in this competitive setting, they're not going to make mistakes like your average like pub killer will. You're going to need to, honestly, the best strategy is just to not get found in the first place. So I'm betting you there's a survivor up here stealthing, and look at that, there she is, waiting for her team to reset before getting chased, but luckily Proxer sniffs it out for her team. If he gets it down quickly, it could be in the genlock, and that's gonna make it even harder for Archon, or Overcome, sorry. Archon, yeah.
Yeah, with 3 pain reses in the back pocket as well, that definitely will help. That's going to be down under the pallet gym. Super unlucky there. That goes back to what I was saying earlier. Demo is simple but decently strong chase power, especially when it comes to the fact that he is very prone to ping hits. So if you're just slightly above average ping, that is going to be a hit. We do see a lot of progress on this hill gen, nothing like pop to really shut it down. And it didn't look like that was a use of pain res there, but it did not hit the generator.
Yep.
However,
though, if he gets this hook on a fresh survivor and on the Ada here and camps it endgame with Noah, that's a win. So this Ada has to have a banger chaser. Has to.
yeah, if endgame does happen soon though, when Noah spawns in that spot, it's still not out of the question that the survivors on Archon could accomplish something. Not quite able to get the flashbang in time. That is super unfortunate. I mean, all that Proxer has to do at this point is camp next to second. They don't even have to confirm the kill here, as camping him to second would secure 6 stages with 3 fresh survivors hooked, so 3 separate survivors.
Another painters on that gen just to rub the salt in the wound. Proxer is really sitting in a comfortable spot to win this for his set. I think if you're Archon survivors here, you have to get a reset and you have to unhook, and then subsequently you have to have a chase that lasts to the end game without dying. A Herculean feat here. I'd be surprised if they were able to pull this off, but you know, in this situation, it's do or die. They have to do something. So I'm interested to see how Archon plays this, and it's in their hands to make it work.
Yeah, the Noah didn't spawn too far from the hook, but the only thing left that they can do.
They instantly cleanse Noah.
You do get Noah, but it's. I don't think it's going to be enough. If this stage comes through, that is going to be the win for Overcome. It is incredibly close, but the beautiful body coming through from Proxer. That's great.
Refresh 2K6.
That is the secured victory for Overcome here.
Proxer did an amazing job just getting the body block there, but I gotta say, Archon put up a good fight. The insta cleanse on the Noed, suspecting that right away, and then getting endgame, and then trying to get the lucky pull off. That was so good by Archon survivors, but just unfortunately wasn't quite enough. And we actually might get a 4K here from Proxer. It looks like it is. Yep. Wow. What a way to end the game. I was like going through a state of emotions there. I saw the Noed pop, and then I was like, oh, there's a chance! And Proxer just did a great job shutting that down by getting the unhooked body block. So, well done by both these teams. I gotta say, Overcome played phenomenally tonight. Their opponents, Archon, are not pushovers at all. Very difficult team to beat. Just a really good day of DBD. Good DBD.
Yeah, very well played from both teams, putting up a beautiful display of gen pressure on both sides, honestly. I was not expecting Archon to blow through the generators just as fast as Overcome did, but unfortunately, just due to the win condition, it was just not feasible here with how good of a setup Proxer had. But very well played from both teams. Any final remarks?
Oh gosh, I like seeing these players play. You know, the more I cast Archon, the more I want to root for them. And you know, I've known the boys in Overcome for a while, so I do have a little bit of bias. Happy to see them win. You know, I love you, Milton. I love you, Disaster. Keep it up. But good job from both teams. And thanks for coming out and playing. And yeah, we love this league. But that's going to wrap up our set for Overcome versus Archon. We'll be back with you very quickly, very soon here with the next set. And it's going to be some pretty intense killers. So yeah, thanks for joining me, guys. And yeah, we'll catch you with that one.